Okay, so taking a break from SPQR. This game is Shanghai Trader. Here's the box. It's a game that I've only played once, long ago, and I really wanted it because I remembered it being very much like Junta in some sort of ways. I don't think it is all that much. It's more in some ways like a Monopoly type game, actually, but the end goal, which is to get out of the area alive, taking an airplane, with the most money in your overseas bank account, is somewhat similar to Junta. And you're developing various business practices, I guess, enterprises, some of which are perhaps less than legal. But in the end, the revolution is going to come, and it's going to defeat you. Well, it's going to end the good days in Shanghai. All right. Well, we got 6 players, and I've already picked their initial order here: the U.S., Japan, Nazi Germany. I believe that's a White Russian. It may just be Russia as a whole. I don't remember. Britain and France. And they're at the beginning. So it's kind of a tough game to explain, not having played it much. But there's a base sequence of play here. At the beginning of each year, there's a cycle turn where you produce revenue. That's not going to happen on the first year of the game, but every other year it'll happen. Revenue is produced off of this chart. A single trading post, which is marked with a coolie, it has to be in a blue area, trading post area. That's worth $10 per turn, per year. A warehouse pyramid consists of a warehouse, I believe one of these dudes, a contractor or something like that, and 2 trading posts. And I'm trying to remember what a factory pyramid is. I think a factory pyramid is the same. Yeah, a factory pyramid is the same setup, a warehouse pyramid, with a factory on top of it, and you have a factory manager with that. And the rules aren't absolutely clear on this, but I believe you don't double count, which is to say a trading post is worth 10, 2 trading posts is worth 20, an unserviced warehouse pyramid is only worth 10 more than the 2 trading posts there. Okay. Then we go to the initiative phase, and the person with the most counters on the board that they own, of their color essentially, will be the first player in each turn. And then the next most is the second, etc. On the first turn, it's completely random. Then there's a collusion segment where you can negotiate. You get to set up certain specific pieces, such as the monks or the police that players might control, and they have an effect, on protecting areas or maybe doing the opposite. And then finally, there's an exchange segment where you're allowed to trade things you own, money of course, but also trading posts, warehouses, factories. Okay. Then the first turn after that is a winter turn. You'll notice there's an event here. Every season has a special event, which is kind of a random situation, giving an advantage to the person who owns the home of that event. So I don't remember what each one is. I can go into an example though. The gala performance is the first one there, and that's at the Lido nightclub, which is over here. And basically everybody rolls a die. On a 1 or a 2, you have to pay the owner $20,000 unless you can come to some sort of agreement. They're all like this. There's 4 of these special events. Not necessarily are they, oh, you're boned if you don't. For example, we have Roulette Ruble, where you have a chance of wagering against, and you roll a die and see if you make or lose money. So again, very much a luck-based game in a lot of ways, but still got a lot of fun to it from my memory. Okay. So after the special event, then we go to the movement phase. And the shipping phase, I skipped that. You roll a die and see how many ships are coming in where. And I think that's only done in the winter, so that you see the different, one roll is done in the winter and it affects all 4 seasons. That again is not absolutely made clear in the rules, but it seems to be the case. Now, if there's a choice in those ships, whoever owns the Great Orient Shipping Line, I don't know what those boats do, gets to choose. Oh, they're to mark where the ships come in. You get 1 or 2 ships, and you get them at those docks. They're able to choose which docks they go to numerically, and you kind of want to get people at the right docks at the right time. Then there's a movement phase, and when you move, you essentially pick an area, and an area is one of these bordered places. Roll a die, and you end up in one of the little specific locations in that area. In some cases, you have the ability to jump somewhere automatically. So, for example, I believe you can go to the airfield automatically if you're trying to leave the country. I don't remember what other. If you land on the railway, you get to move again. Let's see, where can you automatically move? Oh, yeah. Okay, so if you own 2 trading posts in an area, that will allow you, and when you land on something, you're allowed to buy it. That'll allow you to go to the racket in that area, and this is the only way you can buy that racket, and those have specific cards to indicate ownership and a cost. And each of these rackets has a series of special rules about them, which, again, I don't want to explain the whole thing. So if you end up at a warehouse, factory, racket, trading post, if it's not already owned, you can buy the ownership of it, and that's using the costs here. A coolie owns a trading post, an overseer, I believe, owns a warehouse, a manager owns a factory, racketeer, those are the purple rackets. And then we got these special contractors, thug, mugger, assassin, and the courtesan and tongs. The courtesan and tongs have special rules as to how to get them. You have to go to Old Chinatown, which is kind of dangerous. Let's see. So you use those contractors in some way to take out other people's assets or to interfere with them. So, for example, thugs. You pay $10,000 and you can eliminate somebody's coolie. It can only be used in the international settlement. The international settlement is the English and French protectorates or whatever. Everything else is outside of that. If you move to one of the areas outside of it and you roll a 6, You get shanghaied into old Chinatown, and bad things can happen there. You can willingly go to old Chinatown to try to hire yourself, the tongs or a courtesan. Thugs allow you to mug people. Assassins are very specific. They can only be used when somebody's trying to escape the country, and you try to shoot them at the airfield. Okay. So I'm also playing, of course, with the advanced rules. Since I don't know what I'm doing, it makes sense. No, they add to it, I believe. First one is, normally the game takes 8 turns and game is over. 10 turns and less players. Instead, we're going to start rolling the die on, let's see, I think they say turn 6 you want to do. Yeah, and I'm going to play it out from turn 6 to turn 10. There'll be no automatic ending until turn 10, so the game can end at any point on a 6, anywhere in there, but on turn 10 it will automatically end. It's a little different from any of the rules. National differences. Okay, so some of the countries have their own special advantages here. The Shanghai Club, the French Club, and the Currency Trader can only be owned by the British, French, or American players. Other people can build the trading posts in those areas, while Shanghai Club you just go to and you get. But the Currency Trader, the Americans want to get those trading posts. If they don't take them, somebody else can, but somebody else can't get the Currency Trader. And likewise, what is the other one? The French Club. Only the French can actually end up buying it. Japanese Marines. We have them here. They is able to place them in a warehouse or factory within the 4 dock districts. Remember where the dock districts are. I think that's up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they provide some protection, +3 to the Tong die roll, and that makes it harder for the Tong to do damage to him. +3 to the custom inspector, they can chase him away. They don't affect courtesans, which can also try to undermine those operations. The White Russian Minder. The Russian player is allowed to either use these himself or loan them, and they give a penalty to anyone trying to mug the character protected by him. Also, assassinations have a chance of being deflected, killing the Minder. So he gives him a little bit of extra. And finally, we got a German spy. And that can be used each turn to target a player. If you can't cut a deal with that player, there's a diplomatic scandal, and the targeted player is placed in the international consulates. On a 1 or a 2, the target has to spend his turn in the consulates doing nothing, although he can still hire contractors. On a 3 or a 4, and its next 2 turns, and a 5 or 6, it's the next 3 turns. So, you have these powerful. Now, the spy is not too different. The courtesan works very similarly, where you're trying to create a problem for the player himself. The mugger is trying to steal half your cash on hand, I believe. And we already touched some of the others. Some of the rackets have their own powers too. We already talked that the monks and the police from the Shanghai Club can be used to send some places. But the Lido courtesan is the same way. The person who controls the nightclub can once a year send the courtesan out targeting a player, and if it reaches the North China Daily Mail before the player, then the targeted player has to lose half their cash on hand. So it's kind of like being mugged. Customs Inspector is another one. This goes to whoever owns the customs swindle, which is up here. And that can be used during a seasonal turn to raid one warehouse per year. If you can't cut a deal, the owner of the swindle rolls a die on a 1 through 4. Some illicit goods are uncovered. The warehouse is closed down temporarily. 5 or 6 means not enough evidence there. And again, remember, the Marines can protect against this. They get +3 to the die roll. So there's only a 1 in 6 chance of him working if the Marines are present. Players can make a deal. Even if the inspector is present on top of the warehouse, i.e. he has downgraded the warehouse. You can make the deal after the stuff is found. And it also prevents a warehouse from being part of a trading pyramid if he's closed it down. There's a lot, there's a lot of little aspects like that. And what I wanted to do was give this a shot. I'm not sure it's too many people's cup of tea. I played it once, had a good time with it. In the same sort of way I have a good time with Hunta, as I said. It's not a terribly detailed game, but I think it catches something of a mood that most games don't really have. Alright, let's see.